Well, Joe, let's look at the context. Pre-COVID, it was the hottest economy I can ever remember, and it was driven by the productive side of the economy, not government. So really, we've got a context to compare to where maybe it was close to ideal in recent times. So the uncertainty, we got the CARES Act out the door, probably more money than we needed to spend then, but we erred on the side of, kind of doing something, and it was totally bipartisan. Now we've had a year and a half of government being the driver in the economy, just unconcerned about the fact we're nearing 30 trillion in debt, inflation becoming somewhat embedded into the landscape. And that also we know that the COVID navigation, thank goodness we got the vaccine. It was implemented decently. Probably not going to be the thing that gets us out of it. It's become somewhat endemic. I was happy to hear Merck and Pfizer have got a therapeutic that looks like it's really going to weigh into the equation. I think there'll be prophylactics that actually help you kind of prevent getting it. That is going to be built into kind of that new baseline. And I think it's clear that government at this point has to get out of the way and maybe look at what was working pre-COVID. And you see the kind of gyrations occurring over in Europe. So there's still a strong tug of war between people that are saying, hey, we got to get into some navigation forward that is real with where COVID's going to affect us. And can we recover from what government has done, maybe with good intentions, but crippling the economy in a way that the whole work ethic might be different from what it was before. Here in Indiana, we're already down to mid-3 unemployment rate. Workforce was the biggest deal pre-COVID. It's really been accentuated with government policies, both federal and in some states.
Senator, the point has been made from one side of the aisle that, during the pandemic, people with means and with assets did very, very well. And we still need help for people that are at the lower end of the income scale. And we try, and nothing seems to move that needle. And their view is that this is a way of, whether you want to call it redistribution or just giving more of a helping hand or a safety net to those in need. I think Republicans say that we're basically expanding the safety net to the middle class. And I'm wondering, is that your viewpoint? And why would that be necessarily a negative if the middle class had more of a safety net?
Again, let's look at the context. Pre-COVID, we were raising wages in the toughest spots among certain minorities, African Americans, and it was done the old-fashioned way, where you're competing for labor, and that was being absorbed into the economy with still an inflation rate that's been historically low. We do have to be careful, because if we weave this into the new tapestry of whatever this economy is going to be, kind of look to get your cue from growth rates and how things work in Europe. I mean, they've been doing it at a level that would be similar to where we seem to want to go to. I think that's a mistake. I do acknowledge that we've got to figure out, conservatives have got to be better at being in the discussion on the high cost of health care, which disproportionately impacts those at the lower end of the scale. We got to be at least credible with a discussion on climate, which we seem not to want to be, but that's changed a lot just in the last year and a half. So we need to be, I think, looking back to what was working, be engaging in the issues that have disproportionate impact on those at the lower end of the scale. And I think then we arrive at a different place, and that's baselining how we handle COVID, how we accept it. And that's not, of course, done with mandates where you're saying, hey, either get a vaccine or lose your job, because that is one of the biggest mistakes I think government's done right at the tail end of how we're kind of navigating through it anyway.